What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and today I'm going to be ranking and briefly talking about each of Stephen Malkmus's solo albums. Malkmus is the lead singer, frontman, and one of the original members, along with Spiral Stairs of Pavement. I just did Pavement's albums, songs, deep cuts, 3 videos. And so now he went solo way back when, sometime in the 90s, has 9 solo albums to date, 7 with the Jicks, 2 without the Jicks. I'm going to combine all 9 into one list. He also did a live album in which they covered Khan's Ige Bamasi. That is our connection to Malkmus from Zappa, is through Khan and Zappa's influence on Khan and Malkmus's Khan's influence on Pavement and Malkmus then covering Khan. Plus Malkmus has a song called Baltimore. Zappa connection there. Not that Zappa had a song called Baltimore, but the origins of. And I'm going to do those 9. Oh, the album. He also had a live album in which he covered that album. A live album which he covered Khan's album. They released it on Record Store Day way back, I don't know, like 10 years ago or so, it seemed. Maybe not that long. And then recently Mass released it, so anybody can get it. And if you like that album, it's a good interpretation. Pretty sticks to the script, but a fun sort of live version of that Khan album. But yeah, as a quick overview, Malkmus is pretty much a logical extension of what Pavement was. I mean, he was the main songwriter, wrote 98% of their songs, maybe 99. Spiral Stairs had a handful in there. The Jicks are an amazing band. Their accompaniment with him, the sound of their albums sounds amazing. And to some degree, each of his solo albums brings, for sure, Malkmus's amazing lyrics, his guitar play. Some lean heavier in the guitar direction, and he sort of indulges his sort of jam band guitar theatrics. Some of them are more poppy. Some of them have a very nice balance of both. You know, he's got his awesome ballads, which he's been an expert at ever since he was with Pavement. I guess ballads is the word. There's like slower tempo numbers that kind of have a delicate feel about them, that kind of build to something usually. A lot of interesting little prog detours throughout his songs. Each album is a really nice mix of everything Malkmus does, except for one album. Of the 9, I really, really enjoy 8 of them. Number 1 is clearly my favorite. 2 through 8 are pretty close in ranking. I don't think there's much different in them. It's just some songs I like better than others. 9 is the only one I kind of don't care for, and we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, that's all it is. I mean, if you like Pavement and you have not checked out Malkmus's solo albums, you are missing out. If you've heard Malkmus and not checked out Pavement, you are even more missing out. I'm not sure any of these albums, definitely none of them reaches sort of the same heights as Slanted and Enchanted or Crooked Rain, though I do think maybe a couple of them are comparable to Wowie Zowie. Maybe a little shorter, more intense, condensed version of what that delivers. But anyways, yeah, that's it. That's all. My brief little introduction to Malkmus. So anyways, let's get on to album number 9. Number 9, his most recent album, 2020's Traditional Techniques, his 9th and most recent, as I just said. This is an acoustic album. This is Malkmus trying to be folk for 40 plus minutes. It is the only album I really don't like. And it's not that he's gone acoustic. I am not a huge acoustic fan for the most part. Bands that are solely acoustic, that never do anything else, I kind of don't listen to. There are obviously exceptions. I love Dylan acoustic. I have Neil Young acoustic. There are bands that do acoustic well. Joni Mitchell, I guess. Piano acoustic, I love. Tori Amos, love that every day. But when artists generally do like an acoustic detour and they're generally electric and they do an album of just acoustic, not my jam, not my style. And this one fully lives up to those. I have no expectations for this, and it did not disappoint because I just don't like it. And part of the problem is I don't think it sounds very good. The production gives it somewhat of a distant, echoey feel. It definitely doesn't pop as much as like a normal Steve Malkmus and the Jicks album like pops. I love the way his band sounds. This doesn't have those interesting textures, those interesting tones, those flavors that I think a normal Steve Malkmus album brings. And that may be part of the problem, but I also don't think the songwriting engages me as much as other albums do. There are three songs I like. Christian Man, which is the second song, Xian Man, Shadow Band, which is like midway through the album, and Flow in Robes, which is a shorter, more, I think it's a more poppier number if I remember. But those are the only three I kind of like, and everything else just kind of washes over me, and I don't really enjoy it. I'm not engaged with it. I don't think the melodies are strong. I've not been as interested in this album enough to really know what the lyrics are because I don't seek this out. It's only been out for what, 2.5 years now, March 2020 when it came out. But when I want to listen to Malkmus, I very, very seldom reach for this. Just not something I enjoy. And I don't think it's a good place to start because it's in no way indicative of anything else he ever does. It really does feel like a more dour, somber, like he's not always the most optimistic guy, but when he is being snide or snarky or that sarcasm comes in there, the music is always engaging and he knows how to write a hook. And this one just kind of seems hook absent. And I don't really like it. And it's the only one I don't like. But yeah, I think that's all I got to say about this. I don't know if he toured this album because this did come out in March of 2020, right when the pandemic hit. I think he did, like after the pandemic started. This is the only album I did not see the tour, I did not see live show of this tour. So I don't know if he brought these live. I don't know what he did with them live. I'm pretty sure I've seen them in set list, but I don't know if they were played acoustic. I know nothing about the tour for this album. If you saw him on this tour, I'd love to know kind of how it went or what the experience was, if these songs were better live or had a little more life to them. But yeah, it's the one album that to me it's the only album that I kind of really just don't enjoy listening to. Number 9, Traditional Techniques. Number 8 is 2019's Groove Denied, the only album Malkmus did in which he is the only musician on the album, or at least according to everything I've ever read. So I'm assuming all those things I've read are correct. Apparently, he'd been working on this album for a super long time, and it kind of feels like that. It also kind of feels like what happened was the first three, maybe three and a half, the first three tracks and then a little bit bleeding over into the next couple tracks are like fully electronic music, like drum machines, and I think he, synthesizers, and I think he uses a mini moog on this, and just we're really going into like almost an early 80s electronic kind of goth new wave darker sound. But I like it. It's engaging. It's not the best music Malkmus has made, but I think it sounds better than the acoustic stuff, and I think it's a little more intriguing. As the album progresses, though, those instruments and that sort of electronic vibe seems to fall away. And knowing that he did this over a period of time, I don't know if we're getting like the sequencing of the songs is how they were recorded or written, like if it's a chronological sequence. But it feels like, in listening to this, like he had a handful of ideas for electronic music. Then he got bored and just started doing things that he's always done. And so in a way, a lot of the songs, especially on the second half of this album, sound like they could be right off Wowie Zowie, or even something off like one of the poppier, brighter numbers off Westing by Musket and Sexton. Like there's an eclecticism to this that I absolutely love. And while I don't think the electronic work that opens up the album is his best stuff, I do think that as the album progresses and we go to more familiar, like full band, though he is the full band territory, I like appreciate that stuff more because there's a real logical journey to it. And when we get to these things that would have been like short little punky numbers on Wowie Zowie, or things that are more like Malkmus familiar, like even Pavement territory, even like callbacks to like maybe like late 70s post-punk or 90s rock. It's all familiar, but at the same time, there's there's a very DIY feel to all this. It really does feel like one man just doing it all, but it works, and the progression of the album works. Yeah, it's just kind of a fun album if you're in a mood to like find an artist who's willing to take chances and willing to explore and wants to try new ideas. And maybe he doesn't have an album worth of new ideas, but he's got a handful of new ideas. He's going to put those up front, and then he's just going to rock out. Like a really good concert. It almost feels like a concert where, like, hey, I'm in this electronic stage. Endure the first 20 minutes with this. Then we're going to do what you came for, and we're going to have fun. And I really appreciate that. I think it makes the album work. I'm one of those people who on my like playlists and iPod and stuff like that, I like to rearrange track lists if I think an album could be better, if certain songs went other places. And this is one of those where I've tried to like take those like electronic pieces and maybe spread them out throughout the album. So they're like, you know, rest stops or like detours along the way. It doesn't work as well. The way he has it laid out, where we start off with what I think is the most difficult of the electronic pieces, and then we get stuff that like Belziger, Faceplant, I think is the more experimental, and then a bit wilder, tends to remind me of like early 80s stuff. Victor Borgia, again, that. Then you get to songs that have more instruments with electronic, and then we just are full on in like Steve Malkmus territory. It's a really good journey. So yeah, I really like this album, and it's one that I continues to grow on me. And I do think that if I were to do this list in a couple years again, which I don't know why I would, but maybe I will, because he's going to release another album, then I'll update the list and maybe this will change. This could rise, levitate, go further, closer to number one. It's not going to get past a certain point, but it could jump one or two as I give it more time. It's only been out like 3 years. But yeah, that's it. Number 8. His 8th solo album, the only one in which it's only him, Groove Denied. Oh, and the groove is not denied. There is some groove. Even those electronic pieces have some groove, and it is good groove. So the groove is not denied. So he's kind of lying about that. Sorry, Malkmus, but you're a liar. There's groove in this album. On to number 7. Number 7 is 2014's Wig Out at Jagbags. This is an album with The Jicks. The Jicks are a phenomenal band. Their personnel kind of changed throughout the years. I think a drummer or two has been switched. But just they support him so well, and they just give him so much flavor, and they're so adept at just executing whatever his vision is and bringing out those difficult, like proggy detours and stuff like that. Phenomenal support. This album, the albums that he released 5th, 6th, and 7th as his studio albums. This, Mirror Traffic, and the most recent one that was a studio album, which its name is Sparkle Hard. Kind of, I think of as sort of being similar albums, in that they're pretty much just straightforward Stephen Malkmus albums. It's a little bit of poppiness, a little bit of progness, a little bit of guitarness, a little maybe musical experimentation where you like go with slower grooves or do things a little bit different or throw some country music in there, stuff like that, some fun genre experimentation. But they all are like a menu of like, oh, pick what you like best about Malkmus. And that's going to be on this album, and it's going to be good. It's like a really good restaurant, a Malkmus restaurant that offers everything that he does well. This falls to 7 because I think when we eventually do get to 5 and 6, there are just stronger songs on those. But there are many, many really good songs on this. Opens up with Planetary Motion, which is, again, one of those songs which just like has some really nice complex parts. I love the way the guitar sounds, love the lyrics. It just feels like one of those that had he written more normal love song lyrics, could have been a hit. I always feel like these could have been a hit. Then we get a bunch of songs which are good when I'm listening to them, but I think kind of I forget afterwards, which is why this falls to 7. Janitor Revealed, Lariat, Houston Hades, Shibboleth, J Smooth, a nice slow one, kind of a really nice, kind of a slower ballady feel that I really like. Rumble at the Rainbow, which is one of those like, reminds me of the Hold Steady, Stay Positive, kind of this look back at a scene back in the day and kind of reflect on the glory days of music and the club scene and stuff like that. Chart Junk. It's called Chart Junk because even when Stephen Malkmus writes a perfectly amazing, catchy, hook-filled pop song, he can't just own that fact and like give it lyrics or give it a title that like embraces the fact that he like wrote a perfect pop song. No, he's got to call it chart junk because he knows in his heart that if he had lyrics that were normal or he had was willing to put it out as a single and had people to promote it, this could be a hit. Chart junk reminds me of the Doobie Brothers, but not like the Doobie Brothers when Michael McDonald is singing, but the Doobie Brothers when the Tom guy is singing. What's Tom's last name? Can never remember Tom. Tom Johnston, right? Kind of sounds like a Tom Johnston song. Yeah, that's what it is. His name's Tom Johnston, right? Yeah, kind of sounds like a Tom Johnston song. Or is it Pat Simmons? Whichever one of those. Sounds like one of those really good, upbeat, rockin' Doobie Brothers songs that Michael McDonald is not singing. Great song. Then we get a bunch of just more fun stuff. Independent Street, Categories, which is a short little number with some fantastic lyrics. Cinnamon and Lesbians has another one with just amazing lyrics. Kind of just a smooth pop song again. And then Surreal Teenagers, which has a little more proggy vibe, kind of neat, kind of builds, ends the album with more of like a statement song. Not a bad album in any way, shape, or form. A really good number 7. I do think the beginning is maybe first half is a little weaker than the second half, but there are enough hooks, there are enough good lyrics, there are enough just great ideas sprinkled through this album, coupled with a couple just stupidly fantastic songs that make this a worthy addition to the Malkmus catalog. But that is my number 7, Wig Out at Jagbags. No idea what that's a reference to, though I'm sure I could Google it and find out. Number 6 is 2011's Mirror Traffic, his 5th solo album, also with the Jicks. Again, just a little bit stronger set list, I think, or track list or song list than Wig Out at Jagbags. A number of just very poppy. I think his previous 2 albums leaned in on his sort of guitar, hero, dynamics, theatrics, that kind of stuff. And I think this is obviously embracing sort of a more like pop side, shorter songs, more songs, a lot of really hummable melodies, a lot of really sweet just guitar lines that sound really good. And so this is one that has risen over the years. When it first came out, I enjoyed the previous 2 so much that when this came out, that poppier, lighter side, I was like, oh, I kind of wish he hadn't gone in this direction. But in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, he needed to go in this direction. And as the next 2 albums would find out, and then the 2 that followed that would find out, he would continue to get weird and go in different places and continue to experiment. So it wasn't like it was over. He just needed to get these really hook-heavy pop songs out of his system. Tigers, great opener, kind of chill, kind of like one of those almost like, seems like a little reflective, a little nostalgic type song. No One Is, As I R.B. Only problem, I don't like a lot of times he does that really poppy opening and then like a slower drop down ballad, that sort of traditional fast, slow sequencing. Not a fan of it. I don't think No One Is works as well here as it would work better later in the album if it was like mixed in. My only complaint. Senator, stupidly great pop song, catchy as all. The choruses, or one of the main repeating lines is, I know what the senator wants. What the senator wants is a blowjob. And he had a contest because they were going to release it. And he asked fans to replace that word with another word. And then I think he was going to sing it. And then they were going to release it with the new lyrics. And I don't know if that ever happened or what it was that they got, but I know that at one point when this came out, he was looking for like a word to replace it. And I don't know. Oh, he did. Yeah, he did. He changes a dirty lyric. What is your favorite? He changed it to, I don't know. I'm looking it up. Oh, the winning entry. Oh, this is great. So I know what the senator wants. What the senator wants is a blowjob. Apparently, the winning entry was, and I knew this, I just forgot it. I know what the senator wants. What the senator wants is a corn dog. Ah, that's beautiful. So yeah, really good pop song. Brain Gallop, Jumble Gloss, Asking Price, really solid Malkmus songs. Stick Figures in Love, one of those sweet poppy songs. Spaz, a short little number. Long Hard Book, another slower ballady number. Share the Red, Tune Grief. Forever 28, one of my favorite set of opening lyrics for him. This is Malkmus perfectly right here. verse 1, very first lyrics of the song. This is another really kind of poppy, easy to get a hold of song. And these are the lyrics. I can see the mystery of me and you will never quite add up. No one is your perfect fit. I do not believe in that shit. Don't you know that every bubble bursts? Kill me. Great lyrics, man. Talk about a harsh view on life and love right there. But man, that's a way to open a song. All Over Gently, Fall Away, and the sort of longer, don't think it works as well as maybe he thinks it works, Gorgeous Georgie to close out the album. Yeah, man, just a really strong album of really just, I'm not going to say cookie cutter, that denotes maybe a negative thing, but just Stephen Malkmus being Stephen Malkmus. Ballads, pop songs, little maybe guitar, some nice guitar lines throughout, but kind of a safe album, kind of reminiscent of maybe the first album, maybe not as heavy as that first album even because of Black Book, but just a really good, safe, fun, sweet Stephen Malkmus album. And I say sweet having just read those lyrics I just read. But yeah, that would be my number 6, right? Mirror Traffic. Number 5 is 2008's Real Emotional Trash. His 4th studio album. This is the one in which he really leans into that Guitar Hero theatrics type thing. We got like 5-minute songs, 7-minute songs, 10-minute songs, 6.5-minute songs, another 5-minute song, 6.5-minute songs, all with lots of guitar playing. And I love the guitar playing. I love the fact that the songs are longer, but I generally don't think the songwriting is as strong or interesting on most of these songs as they are on other albums. And so while he definitely wins points for me for indulging in his guitar heroism, I have to detract points because I just don't like the songs as much. In fact, and this may just lose me all my street cred in the Malkmus crowd, my favorite song on this album is the 3-minute pop song Gardenia, which is just like, it's the 7th song out of 10. Before it, there's 1, 2, at least 4 guitar heavy, drenched songs, couple slower ballads. When Gardenia hits, it is just like this breath of poppy fresh air, and I absolutely love it. It is just catchy. It is so sweet and good and pure and shows off his abilities to write a pop song so well. Other than that, I enjoy this album. I just wish the songs are better. Dragonfly Pie, nice guitar work. Hopscotch Willie, longer song with really nice guitar work. Cold Song, Real Emotional Trash, sort of the center of the album. 10 minutes, some great guitar jams in it, some really good stuff. Malkmus is really, his guitar playing is interesting. He's definitely more of a Neil Young style player where it's the ideas and not the execution, or it's like minimalist ideas executed perfectly minimalist, though he's got chops, he's got skills, but it's not flash. It's definitely style over substance, or substance over style, right? Yeah, not the other. Out of Reaches, my favorite song as far as the guitar songs go, Baltimore, just because it's got a really nice 60s psych rock groove, this really nice sort of change of direction in the middle, this like dun to like, I'm gonna sing another song that's in my head, but this really nice sort of chorded shift in the middle that is really good, that kind of propels it off into a more like psych guitar rock direction. Gardenia, perfect drop when it appears. Elmo Delmo, We Can't Help You, and then the closing Wicked Wanda. Some really good guitar playing, some good stuff on here, but I don't think the lyrics or the songwriting is as strong as on everything that's going to be on this list still to come. And that would be number 5, Real Emotional Trash. Number 4 is 2018's Sparkle Hard. The most recent one he did with the Jigs with a full band where it wasn't the electronic or the acoustic experimental stuff. Just a fantastic album. Like, I think the sequencing on this is one of his best sequence albums. He's doing a lot of sort of experimenting with like tempos and sort of different vibes, but not like too extreme. We're still very much in a Stephen Malkmus pocket, but it very much feels like he's trying out new ideas, and the Jigs are there every step of the way supporting him and making these things sound interesting and alive and vibrant. Some absolutely fantastic songs. Some acoustic work on here that shows that his acoustic stuff doesn't have to be morose and dour and just kind of as I think traditional techniques is. The opening cast off is kind of a delicate, not delicate, but just kind of a more quieter piano based piece that kind of sets up the rest of the album really nicely. 4 songs in, we get a song called Bike Lane, which has this just irresistible kind of Con-esque groove. Kind of makes a comment on politics and cops killing people they shouldn't kill. Bike Lane, being about an incident here in the United States that happened in Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, of all places. So we got another Baltimore connection. And Middle America, The Rattler, again, ones with like, a lot of these things almost kind of remind me of Spoon. If you're a Spoon fan, Spoon kind of has a very like straight and narrow lane that they're in, but they do a lot of experimenting with tempos and keyboards and just like weird vocal things that sound like Spoon always, but give it little different bits of flavor. This kind of reminds me of Stephen Malkmus's Spoon album in a way, like him really mixing things up in the way Spoon kind of mixes things up on their albums. Kite, a longer number with lots of little, almost like a mini suite with lots of little really different, interesting parts on it. Brethren, Refute, which is a country song in which Kim Gordon does some vocals on it. This is kind of, it took me a while to come around to this song. I don't really, I love Kim Gordon, but I don't really like her vocals on this. I don't know if they work as well. But this is a neat little country song about relationships. And then the 7-minute closer, Difficulties, Let Them Eat Vowels, which kind of sounds like 2 different songs. Almost has a Layla vibe, where we have Difficulties, and then it kind of just fades off, and then Let Them Eat Vowels kind of pops up. It's a little more like, riffing on musical ideas and kind of a nice little jam to end the album. But yeah, just a really interesting album that I think like sounds like Malkmus, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that don't sound like things he would normally do. He's really kind of genre dipping and using different flavors and exploring. And obviously this sort of kind of predicts where he would go in the next 2 albums, in which that experimentation gets even more extreme, but like you can see him going in that direction and it works, and like he is creative enough to make it work, and like all of these ideas are fully realized and they're not half-baked ideas. So it's just a really strong album for somebody's 7th solo album after doing 5 Pavement albums and all that stuff and all the other things he's done with like Silver Jews and stuff. This is a really good, strong effort that Malkmus should be really proud of late in his career. My number 4, Sparkle Hard. Number 3 is his debut album, Stephen Malkmus. This and number 2 are pretty neck to neck for me. This one is pretty much, I think, your ultimate like sampler plate. Like, hey, I'm solo now. These are all the things I can do, and I'm going to continue to do them for like 8 more albums. Black Book, opener, leads into like his guitar heaviness. Like, hey, I can play guitar and I can get heavy. Fantasies, again, we're super poppy. JoJo's Jacket, we can do all kinds of things. Our witty lyrics are back. We can reference pop culture, nice guitar theatrics. JoJo's Jacket, just a perfect song. Church on White, again, I'm going to slow things down and just make some absolutely beautiful ballads with some absolutely beautiful lyrics, and I'm going to perform the heck out of it. What is my favorite lyric on here? The truth is, I told you half a lie. Right? That's just a great line. Oh, and the truth, I only poured you half a lie. Oh, what a great lyric. That's the chorus there. The Hook, which is just another ultimate poppy song about being a pirate. And it's about 3 stages in which in the first part, it's like he is 19, and then he's like 20 something else, and then he's 31. And even though the ages might not correspond, I always took it to be sort of like an analogy to Pavement. and that early on, age 19, I was kidnapped by Turkish tyrants. I had to taste the deck and many other things. I had to pay the piper with my wedding ring, and I would never see my family again. That's what it was like to be a pirate at 19. Sounds like Pavement early on. I always thought, like, he's on the road, he's touring, life is over, he's gone overseas. They played in London and England and all that stuff. And these things are left behind because you're now living a new life. By 25, I was respected as an equal. 4 or 5 albums in, they're a thing, man. Pavement is a name. Malkmus is a name. They can break up in the late 90s, come back 20 plus years later. They're going to sell out every show and people are going to be dying to get tickets. Like, they have that respect, right? By age 31, I was the captain. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I'm calling the shots, which is kind of like Terror Twilight. And the last line, we were just killers with the cold eyes of a sailor. Kind of reminds me of Terror Twilight. We can do this with our eyes closed. We are so good at this. We are so focused. We can just get this done. Might be a little cold, but we can do it because that's how good we are. So even though there's a whole bunch of pirate references, we had no wooden legs or steel hooks, we had no black eye patches or a starving cook. It is definitely, I think there's something more here. And I've always thought it was sort of a description of his experience in Pavement. And maybe it is. And maybe I read that somewhere once and forgot that I had read that somewhere. But I think that's what it's about. Then we have 2 kind of upbeat numbers, Discretion Drove, DeGrove, Trouble, which is Trouble. That's how we spell trouble. Couple 3 slower numbers, Pink India, Trojan Curfew, Vague Space, Love Pink India. Great number. All 3 of them are great numbers. And then one of the best numbers ever. I'm sorry. Jenny and the S-Dog. Talk about some of the best lyrics ever. So Jenny and the S-Dog. Jenny, age 19. She's in a sorority. Sean, he's the S-Dog. He's 31. They're dating. She's a rich girl. He's the son of a Coca-Cola middleman. But there are lines in here that are so perfect. Like we have this 18-year-old who's dating a 31-year-old. He's obviously a hippie. He's in a band. He's got a guitar. This is how they describe him. This is just one of my favorite lyrics ever. See those rings on her toes. We got toe rings. Check that frisbee in his Volvo. Perfect. It's a Volvo with ancient plates. They've got a dog she named Trey, fish reference, fish covered peaches and regalia, a retriever with a frayed bandana around his neck. All done in one of the most hummable melodies ever. Love this whole song. Eventually they break up. She goes to school in Boulder and the S-Dog comes to visit. The strain is too much. She pledged Kappa and started pre-law. And the closing line is, he is now waiting tables because the band didn't work out. Oh, they used to kiss when they listened to Brothers in Arms. Another great line. But the last line of this, one of my favorite lines of any song. And off came those awful toe rings. Off came those awful toe rings. What a phenomenal song. And then it closes with something called Deado or Deado. Anyways, a great debut album for a solo artist. Yes, he had a bunch with Pavement, but an awesome opening salvo as Stephen Malkmus, the solo artist. My number 3. Number 2 is his second album, Pig Lib, came out in 2003. This is definitely leaning way more into the guitar stuff than the first one did. Just a bunch of really good, great guitar-based songs, couple nice little poppy numbers thrown in, one sort of epic long piece. This album, the one I've yet to do, and then Real Emotional Trash, each had as sort of a centerpiece, one like 9 to 10 minute long song with lots of guitar playing. This one has 1% of one. 1% of one. This one I think is, of the 3, I think the one on the next album, the one that's going to be number 1, is the best. This is my second favorite. Real Emotional Trash is probably my third of these 3. But this just starts off so incredibly strong. Water in the Sea, Ramp of Death, Do Not Feed the Oyster, Vanessa from Queens, just each one of those, just either great guitar work, nice poppy hooks, great lyrics, Sheets, Animal Midnights, Dark Wave, Witch Mountain Bridge, a lot of longer songs. We're into like 5-minute songs. He's a little bit looser, kind of stretching out a little more, letting his guitar do a little more of the talking. Cross Song, 1% of one, and Us. just like from start to finish, just a banger. Do I want to say that? I don't want to say that. But just a really good album with some phenomenal lyrics, a nice jam at the end with 1% of One, some good guitar playing. There was a bonus disc that came with this that had what 5 songs on it. One of them was called Dynamic Calories, which was about a band named Dynamic Calories. Great song. If you can find that bonus disc, great song. That the best of the 5 songs on there. There's 2 like live songs towards the end, but yeah, that Dynamic Calories track is really good, really poppy, really fun. But yeah, number 2, Pig Lib, just definitely not as poppy as the first album, but definitely his guitar work and the melodies he puts forth in his guitar work. His guitar playing is always interesting. It sounds great because the Jigs are such a great band. And just some of the some of the riffs he drops in this, just everything about this album. Like this is like if you need a little more guitar in your Stephen Malkmus, this is the album to go to. This one and the one we're going to talk about, that is number 1. And my number 1, his third album, 2005's Face the Truth. And let's face the truth, this is his best album. This is like another one where he does a little bit of everything, but it's like the eclectic, dark, kind of pushing the envelope version of everything with like some nice weird sounds thrown in, a nice jam, a little bit of poppiness, but not too much poppiness, a little like straight up almost like garage rocker type number and Baby Come On, just kind of all over the map, but in like the best songwriting way possible. Opens up with Pencil Rot, which again has some weird like dun 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 dun, some weird lyrics. Almost sounds like they're scratching at some point, but I think it's just like maybe some production effects or some synth effects. One of my favorite songs, It Kills, which has a part in it that reminds me of Rod Stewart's Young Turks. I'm pretty sure that half of the main melody line of Rod Stewart's Young Turks is in this song, and I love it for that. I've Hardly Been, Freeze the Saints, Loud Cloud Crowd, the epic 8-minute No More Shoes with it, which is just a guitar workout in the best way possible. Mama, Kindling for the Master. Second half is getting a little weird. Kindling for the Master. We got Post Paint Boy. We got that awesome sort of rocker and Baby Come On. And then Malediction to close out the album. Like, not a bad song. One really heavy guitar stuff. Lots of neat sort of sounds that are being made, sprinkled throughout. Couple killer ballads. A Rod Stewart, half of a Rod Stewart melody line from one of his best songs. Just nothing bad about this album at all. And I think Pencil Rot and the weirdness of the opening track, that kind of just sets you up for everything else that's going to happen. Because there's almost like a little bit of everything in that song. And the rest of the album just kind of like he lays out all his cards and the rest of the album picks a different card and highlights that throughout the rest of the album. But just great lyrics. Yeah, I think Freeze the Saints he was doing live for quite a while at one point. A lot of these stuff he does live, but Freeze the Saints hung around for a couple of years. Baby Come On, great live number. Just some absolutely fantastic stuff on here. And easily the album I listen to the most from Malkmus. There's 1, 2 through 8, and then 9. But yeah, just a great album. His number 3, my number 1, Face the Truth. And that's all I got to say about Stephen Malkmus. Yeah, like I said, I love all these albums. I would, if you're looking to get into one, I think the first one is a good place to start. I think that's a good, safe, hook heavy one. I would say Sparkle Hard and the debut are the best places to start. Then I would go to Pig Lib and Face the Truth. And then from there, if you still like it, even though Face the Truth is the best one, I think the more you know about Malkmus, the more you appreciate how good and sort of exploratory and somewhat experimental, not totally experimental, somewhat experimental that Face the Truth is. But yeah, that's all I got, man. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite is. Let me know which one I'm wrong about. You know how comments work. People leave comments, all that stuff. And if you go to listen to one and go, hey, thank you for the recommendation, I like it, let me know. I want to fine tune my recommendation so that I can at least send people in the right direction. But anyways, thanks for watching, y'all. I'm going to do songs next video, his top 10 songs. But thanks for watching. Peace. Comments, subscribe, listen to music, share, what all. You know how it works. But most importantly, go listen to music, people. Go listen to music. Peace.